We good?
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Doing Better News. My name is Oliver Ox, joined by my partner in newsing, Beth.
Hello.
All things local on our Doing Better News show. We are located right here in beautiful Lawrence, Massachusetts, and it is a beautiful, beautiful day today for Easter Sunday. That's not the current religious event that people
Yes.
are eventing in. Yes, there we go. It is Easter Sunday. It's gorgeous. Marathon Day tomorrow in Boston for a little local connection as well. So we got some... Oh, yes. We were just debating whether or not we could get away with keeping the window open because it's so nice out. I need I have one actually. I need a shield that just blocks this side of my microphone if I'm going to do that because that's the window side. It's so nice out. I want to breathe it all in, even though the allergies.
I'll take the reggaeton. I will take the reggaeton. I will take the mariachi. I will take it all.
How about this super loud exhaust?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Even the super loud exhaust. She's in a good mood today, folks. Wow. I love it. So we got a couple of, this is our second time doing this show. We're really excited for it. Sort of a branch off from the original Doing Better show. We want to focus on news that's most relevant to you guys at home. And although on the Sunday Sanity Check, we'll get into all the local, the global, international news, all that stuff. That stuff can get a little overwhelming and feel a little negative sometimes. Here with the local stuff, it's all stuff that you can go get involved in. We're going to talk a little about some news stories that are going on, and then we're really going to shift our focus to what's going on in the next week or two, what you can get involved in. It's very easy. I find myself, this week I've had a tough week. I don't know about you guys out there. This has been a tough week, not just because allergies are impregnating my nose with boogers, but also because it's felt very... heavy lately. The news is feeling heavy. The state of the society and all these things are feeling very heavy. I just got a $5,500 tax bill from the federal government. That feels pretty fucking heavy too. It's just a lot going on right now, and I think it's very easy to get hopeless, quite frankly. I think that's the word. I've been struggling with that this week. I don't know about you guys out there, but it's hard to maintain a positive focus. However, I think the closer you get to home, the more positive you can make things. Like, obviously, you are in charge of your own life, and you can make positive changes in yourself, and then in your family, and then in your community, and in the local area. So that's what we're going to try and focus on as much as possible today. So a couple stories coming at us. Local connection. Des, if you'll give me my screen, please. Big story this week is it's the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. This is where it all started, this part of the country. And Lexington Concord are the sort of the namestays of that whole movement. So they've been having events since early in the morning yesterday to celebrate. It's an interesting time in history to be celebrating a revolution because I think more people are using that word now than maybe since 1776. So
Well, maybe 1975. 1975 at our other bicentennial, things were a little
spicy then
too.
Yeah. Although I feel like 1975 feels like a walk in the park compared to now, but it's all relative, I suppose.
It's your point of view.
It's true. I found one very positive story that I wanted to share with you guys from this week from my, I think it's from, a town over from me in New Hampshire. Go ahead and give me this, Des. The Amherst Fire Department sent firefighters to be dispatched to a trailer that was on fire. And this guy, these two guys went out and they knew the neighbor couldn't walk and while her house was on fire. And they went out and they rescued her before the fire people got there. So just a great reminder. Get to know your neighbors. That's your first line of defense. Friends, family, neighbors. Those, and no matter how good the fire department is, they don't have one next to you unless you live next to the fire department. So, it's great. That's great to see people putting themselves in harm's way to help other people and community, bearing fruit of community. I thought that was a lovely story. Okay, let's get get some national connections. So lots of people around two big issues. There's been a lot of activism against our current administration. There was lots of activism against the previous administration, and there's a lot of that carries over. So a lot of the Gaza policies are very similar. So a lot of people are equally as mad at Trump as they were at Biden. But there's a couple of new things going on that have really upset people, that have led to some protests and some lawsuits. So the thing one has to do with rights. It's the thing that resonates most with me because I'm always most concerned about human rights. It has to do with people being deported, sometimes not to the country they're from, without due process. So that's been one major source of contention. And then the second has been the cuts, the cuts, or B, the way the cuts have been made in the federal government, mostly around Elon Musk related stuff. So lots of protests there. One thing that's come up hitting right close to home is this lawsuit. There's a lawsuit seeking to stop these immigration actions against students in New England. So I believe it's all of the New England states are working as a law firm challenging the idea of deporting people who are here on student visas, basically. And what's happened to multiple people, thanks to Marco Rubio and the Trump administration, is that they've done something that the Trump administration didn't like, and then they get their student visas canceled. So this is there's been some action. We're not the only part of the country. A lot of places are trying to fight back in the legal system against these deportations or these canceling of people's immigration status over freedom of speech issues. So we're all in on that. So that's an interesting local connection, I thought. I want to jump to. Let me go to this one next, actually. So I mentioned this in, I think, pretty much every major city in New England. There's been protests. The city of Concord, for New Hampshireites like myself, is our capital. If you've never been to Concord, New Hampshire, it's a very quaint, cute little city. It's like there's quite a few in this country. Little Rock, Arkansas is kind of similar, of these like capital cities that are like kind of cute and little. And Concord is definitely one of those. So there's been the hundreds gathered in Concord for a day of action to protest against the Trump administration. Beth, you mentioned these are happening right outside of your house.
My work.
Oh, your work. Sorry.
So when I do teach yoga in Amesbury, which you wouldn't even think of this, and they every Saturday. So there was a big one this weekend. So this weekend was supposed to be the big national. Everyone get out in your town square and say you're upset. So it was a little busier, but I didn't even notice that it was a little busier because in downtown Amesbury, at Saturday at 12, every Saturday at 12, rain, sleet, snow, they've been standing out there protesting. So they're happening everywhere, even in like suburbia.
Yeah. So there's a lot. So just looking at this WMUR story, they're talking again. It's a little bit about rights issues, about some of these deportations, about the interfering in universities when it comes to freedom of speech, etc. So there's some sort of more rights focused things, and there's some people that are more into the federal government getting funding cut. So there's been some threats to Social Security, which is kind of somewhat separate from the way the rest of the government is funded, and certainly was designed to be its sort of own independent thing, just to make sure that we didn't have Americans living on the streets because they were elderly or disabled. It's become very political. At some point in time, I want to get into that because I think that's one in which there are logical arguments on both sides, but I think people tend to debate different things when they're debating this. I don't think the left and the right necessarily talk the same language when it comes to Social Security. So I think it's an interesting one to talk about. But the sort of sum total of this is a feeling that the Trump administration is using an awful lot of executive power and is being particularly authoritarian, whether it's in making cuts, whether it's in enforcing they're using the Alien Enemies Act to deport people. It's a lot of stuff that's sort of sketchy, and we'll get into a little bit more in our Sunday Sanity Check, because Top Hat Johnny will be here. We're going to talk a lot about the civil liberties side of it. But anyway, protests are all around. It's an interesting time for our democracy, or republic, or oligarchy, whatever you want to call it.
And if you are going to partake, remember to be safe. Remember, nonviolent. People get in your face. don't engage. Get your phone out. Record.
These are
Be safe. Be smart.
great points. And if we are talking about revolution, if we are talking about really rethinking the way that we're doing government right now, or the people that are in charge of it, peaceful revolutions just statistically have far higher success rates than violent revolutions.
Yes.
It's just very often violent revolutions, you kick the bad guy out, and then he comes and kicks you out, or a different, whatever. It's just one group of thugs beats up another group of thugs, and then at the end of the day, people don't tend to win. The most successful revolutions tend to be one in which you have large groups of people non-violently protesting, saying, we will not do X, Y, and Z. We're gonna draw the line here, but we're not gonna partake in the violence and the intimidation that your side partakes in. It's very hard to do.
And it's very scary.
It's very scary, and it requires you being brave and the bigger person and not giving people what they may deserve. So it's very hard to do, and we'll see if that might be in our future in the next few years. I'm hoping that we might be able to come to some consensus as a society about the type of people that we're going to let be in charge. I would hope we would make that decision in a very non-violent way. I think consensus is even better than revolution, but we shall see.
Just keep yourself in shape.
Yeah, right. So
Work on running.
no, these are very good points. There is zero downside to prioritizing your physical and mental health, prioritizing your ability to be the best version of yourself, and maybe you have to run a mile. So, we're carrying a backpack. So let's hope none of that's the case.
Zigzag, bob weave.
Yeah. All right, a couple other ones. So one interesting thing that's happening right now in New Hampshire is there's a big battle in the New Hampshire legislature about housing, about zoning laws. So if you don't know this, in almost every American city and town, there are regulations on what type of building you're allowed to build in which place. If you're an old SimCity guy like myself, it sort of falls into commercial, industrial, and residential. So generally, beyond a small home business, generally if your area is zoned residential, you can only build houses there. They might say you can only build single-family homes in this area. You may only have lots of this size. There's lots of regulations they try to do in order to keep the residential community feeling residential, so that you don't have a giant factory next to you putting out all kinds of pollution, so that you don't have a shopping center next to you ruining the traffic on your street, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the reason I bring this up is because this debate in New Hampshire House is nonpartisan. There's people on both sides of it, and I think it's a great example of an issue that that goes beyond people's ideology, and that these issues are tricky. It's very easy to say, well, I'm a libertarian and you should be able to build whatever you want wherever you want. Well, sure, there's an argument for that, but do you want to live next to a fish canning factory or fill in the blanks or a dump or a et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Again, strip club or whatever it might be. But the downside of these regulations is, like most things that are the regulatory, they drive costs up. So a lot of these regulations require you to get permitting. Some of these places, California is notorious for having...
Dance break.
Sorry. Window open. So California is notorious for having layers and layers and layers of regulation. A comedian I listen to has been trying for 2 years to get solar panels on his house. So there is some... This is one of those things that I think it's tricky. The devil's in the details. We have to have reasonable conversations amongst adults and try and weigh things out. We have to be willing to go, oh, we tried that didn't work, revisit it, etc. So I just think this kind of thing is a great example of why politics are complicated, and it not well suited to sound bites and people with strong opinions who aren't willing to consider themselves wrong. And unfortunately, those people dominate the politics of television. That version of the political world is dominated by loudmouth people who are so right about everything and will never admit they're wrong about anything, because that's a bad soundbite. So, but the issues, if you're a New Hampshire resident, there are not that many issues more important than housing reform in some way to get more houses in New Hampshire. We just don't have enough homes for the people who want to live in New Hampshire. And it's going to be a tricky situation to figure that out. So one good example, a guy I talked to a couple years ago at a libertarian event, actually, from Manchester, was talking about how in downtown Manchester, you're not allowed to build anything over 3 stories.
Okay.
But the result of that is more of a sprawly population situation rather than, so you have all those old tenements in downtown Manchester area that are not the nicest. There's no parking, there's no room for parks, there's no room for a lot of things that you'd want for a clean, healthy neighborhood. And his argument was, well, if you let someone build a 10-story building there, you can fit an entire block of people there that have room for a park and have parking and da-da-da. So in that way, he was making the argument that the regulations were effectively hurting people's ability to live in safe and good neighborhoods. But again, it's not 100. If you go fully libertarian, you got to know that a strip club / fish cannery might move in next to you, and that might not be something you're looking forward to. So, all right, let's fly through the rest of the news before we get into fun stuff going on in the area and things coming up in the next week. I already did that one. For those of us in New Hampshire, Maggie Goodlander has said she will not be running for the Senate seat, which is being vacated by Jeanne Shaheen. Jeanne Shaheen's been a New Hampshire senator for like 20-ish years, I think. Long time. She's leaving. She's a Democrat. There will be an open Senate seat in New Hampshire. For those of us who don't love political advertising, this is bad. I mean, it's really bad news because a Senate seat in New Hampshire it's a Senate seat. There's only 100 in the country. New Hampshire is not a very big state, so those of us who are New Hampshire voters, our votes are worth a lot, and they spend I can't remember what the number was. The last election, the number spent per vote was some ridiculous amount of money in New Hampshire. So we're going to be inundated with political ads. That's the downside. The upside, hey, if you want to run for Senate in New Hampshire, do it. Get your shit together now because the Democrats and the Republicans are firing up their war chests and getting all their propaganda ready to give us some fucking asshole.
And it might just be fun.
Yeah. So yeah, if you are gonna run for Senate, as long as you're not a complete psychopath, I'm gonna support you on this show. If you're not part of the Democrat or Republican machinery, so I would love to see anybody interesting try and get out there and hopefully not get assassinated for doing it.
Thank you.
One sort of serious issue that I want to talk about with both New Hampshire and Mass connections before we get into fun stuff. So there's been a big lawsuit going on. A number of lawsuits that have been going on because of youth detention centers in New Hampshire, and there being lots of evidence of abuse at youth detention centers. And there was a fund put aside with money for youth detention centers. I think it's mostly funded by the state. So these are usually places that if you convicted of a crime at 14 or 15, you get sent there. Some of these, there's lots of layers of social services melding into law enforcement, criminal justice stuff. So some that are completely voluntary, some that are related to state, DCYF or DCF or whatever. Or there's ones that you get into because you committed a crime and that's part of your plea deal, something along those lines. Anyway, there was a ton of cases of abuse at these places. So it says to date, the fund has paid out $156 million to around 300 abuse survivors, but hundreds of claims remain outstanding. So they're trying to get more funding for this. At the same time, we get a story that Des, if you give me my screen real quick. This lovely gentleman was accused of sexually abusing children in his care when his wife was working for DCYF and they had adopted kids in the house. So more stories along these lines. I myself spent the first part of my career working in residential programs for kids. And this is another one of those things that's a tricky thing. Most of the kids that I worked with had been taken away from their families, whether it was for abuse or neglect. but I'm not sure how many of those kids were benefited by that situation. Some certainly were. Some came from horrific abuse. They were certainly better being in a place like I was working at, run by strangers and the government. A lot of kids I don't think were. Some kids were taken out of sort of questionable situations, but ended up in a residential home. The one I worked at, when they were given huge amounts of drugs, their physical restraint was used frequently, and I would say overused. These were places where kids got hurt, and were not always great places. The reason I bring this up is because another story that happened this month in Mass, a family of five kids, the parents were arrested for kidnapping their children. And this came from a neglect charge that had been railed against them. There's discussion on the cause, the original. What was the original neglect charge? The claim that I first read. I've seen different things, so I'm not sure about this. But the claim that I first read that was they were reported by a pediatrician because they chose to use a religious exemption to not vaccinate their children. So the original story I read, and again I've seen other things, so I don't want to be oversure about this, was that there was originally a reference for not vaccinating their children. The reason I bring this up is because if that's the case, I think this is a gross overstep of DCYF or DCF. A parent who loves their children very much and does something that you disagree with, that you think is wrong, is far better than state care. I'm sorry, it is. I worked in state care. Again, a weirdo parent who loves you, way better. A parent, even a parent with a drug problem that's relatively under control, better than state care. 9 times out of 10. So I just think we need to be very, very careful, because it's very easy to say, and I remember saying this 1,000 times when I was younger before I worked in the field, saying, oh man, look at those people. They should have their kids taken away. Oh, they should have their kids taken away. And maybe they should. The problem is, when kids get taken away from their parents, they don't go to Disneyland McMarshmallowville, where they live in wonder and amusement for the rest of their lives. They go to foster care or residential programs or something else, and they are taking care of people who might be professional, generally underpaid, generally overworked, and almost always don't love them. And I think people who love you that are imperfect are probably better than people that don't. And again, I don't want to make gross oversimplifications here. Some people are dangerous to their children and should not have their children. There are extremes on both ends of this. But I think we need to be very, very careful when empowering the state over individuals. And we have this example here when these people are currently in jail for kidnapping their own kids. So short of massive, really obvious abuse and neglect, I think that's a little wild. Okay, all that said, let's move on. Lots of fun stuff coming this week. I got a list that I worked on. Beth has a better list, as always. So here we go. What I got some events coming up, and I got a very ugly chart here that we can go over. Des, will you give me my chart? Some fun things coming up. On Tuesday in Haverhill, Hilly's on the Rise, Young Professional Networking from 6:30 to 8:30 at the YMCA in Haverhill. Cool event. It's a vacation week in Mass for most kids, so I found some cool kids things going on. Ipswich Library has, hold on, let me go. Public libraries. If you have kids and you don't go to your public library, you're wasting time or money or something. Public libraries are a wonderful resource and one that we as communities need to support. Just conceptually, think about it, right? Once you've read a book, you've read that book, and you probably don't need to read it again. You purchased a whole ass book that you probably never need again. So having our own personal libraries, I personally have a bunch of books at home, but makes a lot less sense than us all storing our books together as a community where we can all access them, because books can be read thousands and thousands of times. They're not condoms. So I highly...
But please use both.
Yes. I highly recommend, if you have kids and your kids are home this week and you're like, what the fuck am I doing with these kids? Go to the library. And a lot of towns, you don't have, they're not going to ID you at the door. So you can go to pretty much any public library you want. Get involved in the one in your town, but you can go on anyone. Ipswich Library has a ton of stuff going on this week. From 10 to 12 tomorrow, they have giant games. On Wednesday, they have giant games like Big Tic-Tac-Toe and that kind of stuff. Fun stuff for kids. The Methuen Library has a Sunday fundraiser from 11 to 4 on Wednesday. For $5, you can make your own ice cream sundae and support the library. I think that's pretty cool. In Andover, the Memorial Hall Library has a book sale all week starting Wednesday. Wednesday's a preview night. You got to pay $20 to get in. The rest of the week, you can go. My personal library at home is probably half books that I got at library book sales. Great place to get a book for $1. And support your library at the same time. What else we got? The Derry Library has a virtual event on raising teens, a support group for raising teens. I might have to join this one after the last week of my life, I'll tell you that much. Thursday, the Buttonwoods Museum in Haverhill, a personal favorite of mine, very cute little museum in Haverhill, has a Revolutionary War Day at 11 a.m. The New Hampshire veterans, there's a virtual hiring and resource fair from 11 to 1 on Thursday for businesses that are specifically trying to find vets to hire. Again, a great resource. We can never do too much for our veterans. Babola's restaurant in Nashua has a vinyl swap from 2 to 4. You got to sign up for that online. You got to register online, but you can bring your vinyl and trade. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then Thursday is a night of trivia. Michael's Harborside in Newburyport has trivia and live music starting at 6. The Ipswich Ale Brewery has a local history trivia night, if you're a local history buff, at 7 o'clock. Chunky's in Haverhill has trivia at 7:30. So lots of trivia if you're a trivia person on a Thursday night. And then on Friday, there is, if you're a homeschooler or interested in homeschooling, there's a meetup at the Parker Library in Dracut. I did some homeschooling for 4 years. I homeschooled my kids, and finding a community that you can share resources with is essential. So, and there's a lot of not that weird people homeschooling these days. When I started homeschooling, I was like, oh God, it's going to be all super weirdos. And like, obviously I'm a super weirdo, so that makes sense. That tracks. But not everybody is. And while homeschooling used to be something done primarily by very religious people, that is no longer the case. There's lots of cool people around. So if you're a homeschooler or you're interested in maybe getting into it this next year, check out the Parker Library in Dracut at 1:30 on Friday. The Newburyport Literary Festival starts on Friday. That's a whole weekend thing. It starts at 5 o'clock on Friday. Check that one out. And the last one I got is another shout out for Chunky's. They have Minecraft Family Paint Night. That was kind of a cool idea. So those are some events that I see coming up over the next week. If you guys have any other events you'd like us to share out about, please just hit us up, doingbettershow@gmail.com or any of the comments. We want to get a highlight on anything cool that's going on. That's my spiel. All right, Beth, your turn. What do you got?
Oh, gosh. So, in 2 days, we have Earth Day. A lot of people mix up 420 with Earth Day. They keep saying Happy Earth Day today, which, no, they're different holidays.
Are they never on the same day?
They're never on the same day.
Wow, I feel stupid. Okay, cool.
But there is quite a bit of an overlap in the Venn diagram on people who celebrate both holidays. So, you know what? If it gets you to recycle and plant seeds, I'm down. I'm down to clown. I'm not even going to ask what kind of seeds you're planting. Not my business. So, because of that, next weekend there's a few Earth Day celebrations. There's some going on during the week. But the big one for Lawrence, Groundworks Lawrence, will be doing their annual cleanup on Saturday from 9 to 11. I will be putting the link to sign up on our comment section. Haverhill is also doing one from 8:30 to 11 for downtown Haverhill. Both programs, they're going to have you come report. They'll assign you a park. You'll go to the park. You work on cleaning up your park area. If you are going to do this, I do this as like one of my hobbies. I actually really enjoy doing this stuff. Is make sure you get gloves. Make sure you get leather gloves.
Good point. Yeah,
sharps
good point.
are a nightmare. They're everywhere. It's not just the inner city. It's not just gross places. There's always sharps. My most interesting but also impressed moment was I was in downtown Haverhill at the park that's right under the train station,
Yep.
and I got to play a lotto game of full or empty container. And I lost that game 9 times out of 10. And one of them was there was a park bench, and someone had emptied and refilled all the little tiny nip containers.
Yeah.
So drank them and then peed back into them
Oh.
and then resealed them. So I gotta say, that person had great aim, great skill, great.
Or very smelly hands.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there with my trash picker going, I don't know whether to be disgusted or impressed. So yes, there are points in cleanups that are not savory. That's why when you're an adult, you do the dirty jobs and you let the kids kind of just enjoy an area you've already pretty much cleaned up. But it's family fun. Kids enjoy it. Kids enjoy being at the park, even if it's a dirty park, and it's helping your community. And then when you've done it a couple of times, when you see someone littering or you are about to litter, you go, oh no, I can't. So
Yeah.
it's much better for everyone.
I'm a huge fan of this. If you're if you don't live in one of the towns we talked about, get on the Google machine and see when your town is having a cleanup. Most places have them. This is a huge way of. It's one of these little things that has a big impact. The number one predictor of whether somebody litters is if there's already litter on the ground. So by you getting that piece of litter off the ground in that park or whatever, it's less likely that the next person litters. Just like Beth was saying. Ooh, we got a camera falling down. It's a great way to get involved in your community. And I know for myself, being somewhere with litter kind of puts me in a shitty mood. Like, it makes me, litter is like my kids will tell you ever since they were little, I've been very, very strict on cleaning up after ourselves. I always say littering is for assholes. And I think there's a lot to that. I think taking care of the community around you, the area around you, and living in beauty makes a big, big difference. And I know from my personal mood, seeing beauty versus filth, it changes. It changes every day, and we could all use any little thing we can do to make us smile on a day-to-day basis. Sorry to interrupt, Beth.
No problem. Our next topic is going to be honeybees. Save the bees is not just for Starbucks loving white girls. Sorry, I had to go there. It's one of my biggest pet peeves.
Do it.
It's usually someone buying a Save the Bees Made in China t-shirt.
Yeah.
Do you know the carbon footprint for your Save the Bees coffee mug? But we are having some issues in the news recently about honeybee populations falling in agricultural zones in the Midwest and in the Southwest. It has caused a lot of people to freak out. There's a lot of people screaming on Instagram and TikTok about it being a conspiracy and such. But really what it is that we're becoming more and more industrialized, even in places where we're not industrialized. We're in areas where farmland is now being turned into places to store your ATVs, or becoming large housing complexes with beautiful green lawns, which, in fact, green lawns kill your natural bee population. So, one thing I will be adding to the comment section is, first, there are ways to get involved in your local community if you are concerned about both the native species of bees, or if you like to do beekeeping as a hobby, which there is a Merrimack Valley Beekeeping Association that meets every first Saturday of the month and has lectures on how to
Sorry, just want to show you
how to keep bees, how to protect bees, how to have good environments for bees. They have membership. The membership's actually pretty inexpensive, $40 for your first year.
Not bad.
$15 for the year afterwards. They have family memberships, so if you were a married couple that wanted to get into it, you pay one membership. If you were a whole family, one membership. If this was like really how you were all going to bond.
I like it. It's a good bonding activity.
Yeah, so they have that. In relation to that, the Deerfield 4-H Fair is actually going to be the first weekend of May, so in 2 weeks. They're actually going to have different workshops and expositions on beekeeping, on homesteading, on urban homesteading, how to raise your flower beds. If you are
Cool.
someone who is interested in gardening, but you're not sure where to start, you're not really sure how to do your own victory gardens, anything like that, there is actually going to be a festival where you go in and they do workshops for the whole weekend.
Can you tell people who don't know what a victory garden is?
So a victory garden is a 10 by 10, so 10 feet by 10 feet patch of ground, raised flower bed. And you grow the essential vegetables needed to survive. And it was done in World War II when we were having food shortages and we couldn't get food into the cities. They told everyone to start a victory garden. So you got a 10 by 10 piece of ground, you put some boards down, you filled it with dirt, and you grew your food. And that was a victory garden.
If you are sick of the system and you're looking for step one to divorce yourself from the man, that's what I would do. Even if you just grow lettuce and tomatoes for yourself, that is a revolution.
Yes, and that leads to my next point that we'll be putting into the comment section. Groundwork Lawrence does community gardens throughout Lawrence. Currently, they don't have any spaces open per their website, but there's a way to get on the waiting list. So if you were interested in getting into gardening, but you do not have the space because you're in a triple decker with no land, this is a way to go. If you're someone who lives in the community and has land,
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yes,
Sorry, you're good.
squirrel. If you're in the community and you have land and you wanted to maybe share that, you can also create your own community garden with friends and family. That's another way to stick it to the man. Is you can have one cousin has land in front of their house and they can do 3 or 4 beds and they can send them to their cousins and each cousin can take a bed.
Love it.
One thing Lawrence is famous for their gardening. So the roses in Lawrence are world famous. So I know that the skill set and the ability to grow, even in concrete, is here. So I would highly recommend that if you are interested in this, this is the community to explore that.
That's awesome.
I will also be putting in another article, which is to help the bees. The biggest thing you can do to help with natural bees and help with colony collapse of honeybees. You don't have to raise your own bees. You don't have to. What's killing them besides there are a couple parasitic mites that eat them and cause disease. But really what's causing it is people who over-fertilize their lawns with artificial fertilizers.
Yeah.
And putting in pesticides that will kill both ticks, deer ticks and stuff, but also kill bumblebees. And you can either go completely hippie and cut it all out of your life, or a more reasonable option is knowing the times in which to apply these during the year. Don't apply it when we're going to have a heavy rain because that just goes right into our drinking water. Don't apply at high noon, but do it at sunrise or sunset where it's still cold, and so you're not spraying it directly onto any flying insects. These things will help keep your lawn, keep your property pest limited without being as detrimental to beneficial insects.
I love it. That's good stuff.
And what did I have else? And then it's a beautiful, beautiful day. And things are starting to warm up. So when things start warming up, the last thing we want to do is be stuck here in our little podcast world or on our phones or on our laptops. Life is too short, especially with how uncertain times are now. Life is too short to be yelling at a microphone.
I agree.
So, the topic I have is running clubs. So, in the Lawrence area, there are 3 that I put a link to, and then there's also a 4th one. So, there is the very ground root running club called the 978 Running Club,
Does.
which actually meets right down the street from where we are. We're right on Canal Street now in our studio. If you go across the street on Canal Street and go towards the Washington Mills, you meet there, and they do runs every Wednesday Wednesday at 6 p.m. Another one is at Salem, New Hampshire. I'm going to go check that one out. That one's at the Tuscan Village, so if you wanted to go hang out at the Tuscan Village and maybe go get a beer afterwards, that's a good place to go for run clubs. Those are Thursday, 6 p.m. And then the one I tried out, which I actually kind of liked, we did an ice cream social. So it was running and then ice cream.
Nice.
Was at Georgetown. And the Georgetown Running Club does that every Tuesday at 6 p.m. So there are groups they're free groups, they're social groups that you can go and you can meet other like-minded people, go do some exercise outside.
Are these only for people that are really good runners and
No.
are super athletic?
No.
Good point. Not for you. Don't have to. Most of these places are so happy for you to show up that the moment you're like, "Come on in, we'll help you." Oh, you need some water, like whatever. Like, go get involved. Don't be scared. I'm always scared. I'm like, oh, people are gonna like me. It's gonna be awkward. I don't know. What if I even go there? Are gonna be people like, oh, shut up. Just go do it.
Yes.
They'll be friendly.
And I'm a little old lady, so I'm in the power walking division of these groups.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and the last one that I wanted to bring up, so that the running clubs, is that actually the Salem Running Club is doing a race.
Oh, it was this one. I had that a second ago. Let me get that up. That's this one. There we go.
Yay!
Yay!
So Salem, New Hampshire is going to be having a charity race. Run, walk, little kid race, all at the Tuscan Village. So it's contained. It'll be safe. You don't have to worry about dodging cars for a fundraiser. And it is in the middle of May, so you may want to check that out and do something fun with the family.
Yeah, in Tuscan Village, very close, easy to get to.
Parking.
Lots of parking. Yeah, I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it's a nice, wholesome thing to do with the family.
Yeah, I love it.
And then the last thing is my shameless plug.
Plug.
I've been doing community yoga. I've been offering community yoga at the Heritage Museum all month on Sundays. Today was the first day someone who was not a blood relative showed up.
Nice.
Yeah, it was the park ranger who was supposed to be running the front desk. He put a little sign saying, "I'm upstairs," and he came in. And then the person he works with saw the sign and came up while we were in Shavasana. So he's laying out there and he goes, "Ah, see, you're working hard."
That's awesome.
But we have one more class on the books, so I've reserved the space for one more class next Sunday at 11 a.m. If you're interested, I will put the link into the comments for the Facebook invite. And if you want to come out, stretch. Again, you don't have to be overly bendy. You don't need to be a human pretzel. Mostly we're doing stuff to help you prevent injury versus anything else.
Nice. I love it. That's great, especially for some of us get a little tight as we get older and need to keep the joints lubricated. Excellent stuff. Thank you so much, Beth.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that spring is upon us, or at least feels that way. New England, we always get at least a couple of teases of spring, but it does feel like it's here. As we were driving down the highway this morning, you see the little buds on all the trees. So it's an exciting time, and I think it's going to be a wonderful summer here for us at the Doing Better Show and for all of us in New England. I'm really excited to see how you decide to get involved. Please let us know if there's things that we're missing. I'm sure there's a lot. Let us know in the comments what we should be plugging, what we should be getting people hip to, what we should be getting involved in as well. Really excited for that. Beth, any last words for our new show today?
No, enjoy it. Go out there, get some air. Sunset's in like an hour. Go.
Yes, for real. Yeah, we went on and did a late walk yesterday for that exact reason. I'm like, oh, sun's almost down. I got to go for a walk. But yeah, get out, go meet people. Real life people, way better than internet people. I swear to God. And like way better than news people. Everybody on the news and on the internet's an asshole who hates you, right? Like, oh my God, these guys are no. Real life people, almost all wonderful. Not all, almost all wonderful. Go meet real life people. Have a great week, guys. We'll be back with our Sunday Sanity Check. We'll do that about 10 minutes after 7. We're going to start that show. That'll be going until 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, we'll have our Doing Better show. We're going to have a chat with Top Hat Johnny in the house. It's going to be a fun evening. Have a great week. I will see you hopefully in 20 minutes.